This is take two of me responding to a video by a YouTube channel called Girl Defined. Jack and Glenn did 2 video responses to them, and I thought I might as well respond to them myself. Why not? Free country. So I will be responding to their video in full, and I will be pausing it where I will add my opinion. I just want to say, though, the title of their video is Should Christian Girls Date Non-Christian Guys? Now, people have preferences with dating. I fully understand that. I'm not going to say that just because someone has a different dating preference, whatever, that makes them necessarily a bad person. But here's the thing, though. Both these ladies are very lovely looking. They really are. And so the reason why I'm saying that is not just to say it. It's a compliment. They are good looking. They really are. Anyway, I'm going to go to their video. Let's oh, okay.
Hey, it's Kristen and Bethany with Girl Defined Ministries, and in today's vlog, we're going to be unpacking the question, should Christian girls date non-Christian guys? So we actually get a lot of emails from girls who are asking the question, I'm a Christian, I really like this guy who isn't a Christian. Is that a problem? Is there good reasons for why they shouldn't be together? And here's just a few of the things, emails and comments that we've received. One girl asked, what's the harm in dating a non-Christian guy? What if he's a highly moral guy, but he's not a Christian? Is still dating him okay? And then another asked, we love each other and love is bigger than religion, right? Really good, really relevant.
Well, before I let them go on with their reasons why they think non-Christian guys shouldn't date non-Christian girls, I just want to respond real quick to those 3 girls that emailed these lovely ladies. Responding to the third one, yes, love is bigger than religion. So if you love this guy and he's a non-Christian, great. That's a great connection you found with someone. To the second one, if he has high morals and he's a non-Christian, by all means, if you like that about the guy, date him. And to the third one, you shouldn't really have to the first one, that the email that they read, you really shouldn't have to rely on someone else's opinion if you should date someone. If you feel that dating someone is the right way to go, even if they're a non-Christian, by all means, go ahead and date that person. That's just me responding to it. But to all 3 of these girls or women, however they want to be referred to as, you don't need the opinion of someone to know if you should date someone else. You really shouldn't at all. It's your personal choice.
And we're guessing you probably have some of these too. So in this vlog, we're going to unpack whether or not a Christian girl should date a non-Christian guy. So in order to unpack that question, we have to go to God's word, because God's word has answers for everything in life. We need to look to his word and see what God thinks about this before we can just give our opinion, right? So in 2 Corinthians 6.
Okay. A minute into the video, and they're referring to the Bible as a source where people have to go, if you're a Christian, especially if you're a Christian woman or a girl, to know if you should date someone. I strongly advise against that, because that is honestly not needed. how do I put it? I'll put it simply this way. That's kind of like referring to use the Bible to get your answers in life is kind of like how radical jihadists are using the Quran to know which people are infidels and which of those who should be executed. And they use the same book to use as a life form to throw transgenders or gay people or bisexuals off roofs, or to behead journalists, so on and so forth. Using a religious book as a guide life in your entire life can be a way of cutting yourself short at the legs. It really can. I don't think you should use a book that you love as a source in your life. I'm an atheist. I have science books, which I really love, by Stephen Hawking, history, and Lawrence Krauss, A Universe from Nothing. I have two books, but I have a book by Christopher Hitchens, God is Not Great, which is fairly interesting. And I have a book by Richard Dawkins, The God Delusion. But just because I have very highly atheistic books doesn't mean that I have to use my atheistic values or my atheistic thoughts and just cram them down people's throats, because that's wrong. But essentially, my point is that I don't use my atheistic books to tell me how to live my life. I live my life the way I want to. And I think that's how most people should live their life. And if that's living by the Bible, then have at it. But I do think living by your favorite book is cutting yourself short at the legs.
14, it says, unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? And in this section in 2 Corinthians, it's talking about that we are the temple of the living God. As Christians, we're God's children set apart in this culture. We are light. And it's saying that light should not have partnership with darkness. When someone is an unbeliever, a non-Christian, even if they're really nice, and a lot of non-Christians are really not those things, God, and so they're not God's children. They are not light as God has set his children apart to be light. And so this verse is telling us that we need to not be unequally yoked for that reason. So that verse.
Okay. Here's the thing. Say only Christians are the children of God. So you're saying that Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, so on and so forth, people who celebrate different religions or practice different religions, or people who are atheists at that, a non-religion. So people who don't practice Christianity are not children of God. Isn't that kind of contradicting what you said, that there are non-Christians, non-religious people that are good people, but yet they're not sons of God or daughters of God because they don't believe in God, or they may not practice the same religion? It's contradictory and it's kind of mean-spirited. I, an atheist, do think that if there is a God, I think that if there is a God that his children don't trust him, I think if there's a God that he understands that his children may be distrusting of him, but as soon as they Gabriel or St. Peter at the gates of heaven, that maybe God will show them how they could trust him in the afterlife. But here's the thing, that's just my opinion. If there is a God, keyword, if there is a God. Do I know If there's a God, I don't know. But I'm open to the possibility that there might be something after death, even though at the moment I see no evidence for it.
That marrying a non-Christian is not a good idea. In fact, it says don't do that. But when it comes down to real life, it can be like, well, I mean, is dating a non-Christian, like, is it really that big of a deal? Maybe he'll become a Christian, like Kristen was saying. So 5 problems with dating a non-Christian in a really down-to-earth, practical way. So
okay. Marrying a non-Christian is a problem. I could see why people might view this. Okay? This might be a deal breaker to some people. But here's the thing, though. There are cross-ceremonial marriages that can be performed. Cross-ceremonial meaning if you have the bride or the groom marrying a bride or groom, vice versa, and let's just say the bride in this case is Christian, in this case is Jewish. There are cross-ceremonial marriages that can be done. You could have the priest doing the ceremony for the bride, and you could have a rabbi doing the ceremony for the groom. And yes, it's one single wedding. That you're getting 2 ceremonies being done in the same wedding. How do I put it? You could also have a atheist performing a non-religious wedding ceremony, crossing it with a, let's just say, Islamic, and vice versa. These things actually exist, and there are people that do this, even though their belief systems or non-belief systems might be different. But there are people that love each other so much that they want to marry each other, and they don't care, but they want to incorporate both a belief and a non-belief or different beliefs in one ceremony. Yes, this stuff like that is done. So, and once again, I'll repeat, I could see why this is a deal breaker to some, and I get that. I totally do get that. But most people don't care what the other believes. They do a wedding where they cross different religious values or ceremonies with non-religious values and ceremonies.
You don't share the same standards and convictions. No matter how you slice it, a non-Christian guy will never hold to the same biblical standards as you. Your starting point, like your foundation for truth, will always be different. Because if he doesn't believe in the Bible as his source of truth, you'll have differences. You'll have different standards. You'll have different convictions when it comes to media, children, the gospel, everything. Different really big morals, big issues, because you're not going to the same source of truth. And that is a really big problem. And problem number 2 with dating a non...
Okay. I can see why the first one could be a deal breaker. I really do see why it could be a deal breaker. But the thing is, though, just because someone might have a different foundation of truth doesn't mean that they don't hold the same convictions or same values. You could have a atheist loves gospel music and solely listens to gospel music. You could have a Christian metal music. You could have a is into jazz music. You could have a Jewish person who is into punk rock. Differences don't really matter because we're all going to have different musical preferences. So saying that someone with a different religion or a non-religion from Christianity is going to have different convictions and standards is a fallacy, because they might very well hold the same value system, but they approach it from a different view angle.
That you aren't on the same mission. As Christians, we have a very specific, not just here to live for our own fulfillment and our own happiness. We are here on a mission from our King, from God. We're here to serve him, to glorify him with our lives. And when we're in a relationship, dating a non-Christian guy, he doesn't share that same mission. He doesn't have that bigger picture, that end goal of serving God and living his life for God's glory in every way. So there's going to be a lot of conflict that comes from dating a non-Christian, because you will never share ultimate mission. And problem number 3.
I disagree with your second point. To say we're not on the same mission in life is wrong. It is wrong. It's wrong for many reasons, but the main reason why it's wrong is most people want to help somebody out when they're down on their luck. It takes the poor man down in the stomach when he's begging for food. Nobody says fuck the poor and doesn't volunteer at a soup kitchen. There are people of all religious backgrounds and or not that do help those in need. But that's not the point. When you say we're not here to live for our own happiness, that we're here to serve a deity or a supernatural being, and that's all, I feel genuinely sorry for you that you think that's what our purpose on earth is here. If there was a God, I think that he would want his children to be happy no matter how they seek out that happiness. To say that we're not here to make ourselves happy is saying, I don't want to live my own life. I want to live a life that somebody else lived. And so therefore I'll live that life, and I won't live any different life. I won't live my own unique life. I won't live a life that makes me happy. So when I'm on my deathbed, I could say I lived a life that I wasn't fulfilled by. You could be fulfilled by living a life according to the Bible, but most people and most Christians I know live their own life. Most Christians I know don't use the Bible as a most people I know, including religious people, include mostly Christians, but want to live their life to the fullest happiness as possible. And there are a lot of atheists that live their life as possible, including myself. So if you don't want to make yourself happy while you're on this earth, I genuinely feel sorry for you.
Spiritual leadership. Because if God's word isn't his source of truth, if he doesn't have a personal relationship with God, how is he going to lead you spiritually? He's not going to lead you in prayer to God. He's not going to get down in the word with you, leading you from a heart that desires to know God. He's not going to say, let's pray together, let's learn, grow together, let's study scriptures together. He doesn't have the desire to glorify God in the way that a Christian should. And in fact, in Ephesians 5:25 through 26, the Bible says, husbands, love your wives of the church, and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water with word. Isn't the goal to figure out if you should marry this person? And if he is not able to lead you spiritually now, as a husband, if you were to marry him, he wouldn't be able to fill this command as a husband leading you spiritually. So
Okay. I can see I do. But most people find out if it's the right person to marry while they're dating. But here's the thing. You could have an avid Buddhist, an avid Buddhist who lives the Buddhist life 100%, marrying a Christian woman, okay? Now, is his spirituality path or his religious path different? In philosophy, yes, it is. But here's the thing, though. He could very well lead his wife or lead his spouse in the same way that they would if they married a Christian. Meditation is not different, but it's practiced in a different way. You can meditate on mala beads and focus on the things that you could have done differently in that day. And prayer is the same way, but you're just talking to a deity that may or may not exist in the sky. He could very well lead you on a spirituality path, but he could just approach it from a different angle. Meditation is not innately different. The only difference is how it's being practiced.
Consider this area. And number 4, you won't share the same worldview, whether it's politics, hot topics of the day, things like evolution, abortion, gender. These are all worldview issues where when we approach these, we come to a conclusion in our opinions of these based on our source of truth. And so if this guy isn't a Christian, his source of truth is really just going to be ultimately his own opinion and what he feels like is best, or maybe what he hears in the culture, or maybe some things from religion. He likes some conservative ideas, but ultimately his worldview isn't going to be rooted in God's word like yours should. And so that is going to create conflict. And what happens down the road when something changes or a big cultural push issue in our culture comes about and he's like, oh yeah, actually I kind of believe that now. And you're thinking, wait, but that's not what God's word teaches. 2 people approach a worldview from 2 very different sources of truth, and that will create a lot of issues. Problem number.
I disagree with your 4th point. I disagree with it because, as my first point could be reiterated here, but I'll reword it. You could have a highly conservative guy who could be an atheist, and yet be the most hardcore conservative and still have the same worldview, but approaching it from a different angle. Now, I'll talk about myself here for a second. I'm very libertarian beliefs. One of the things where you could say I'm libertarian on is abortion. I'm against abortion because I think it's wrong. But at the same time, I don't want a woman's right for abortion to be taken away. I'm pro-life, really. I'm pro-life to its fullest extent. I'm against the death penalty. I'm against abortion. I'm against war. Taking life in any way, shape, or form. And I hate to say it, but sometimes if a woman who is in whatever term of pregnancy and she finds out that having this baby can kill her, I think she should have the right to have an abortion, even though it would be murdering a human life. I'm for universal health care. I'm pro-life in its fullest extent. So here's the thing. I'm pro-life. I'm libertarian in my politics. I do Buddhist meditation every now and then. To do it every single day is that you could have people from 2 different worlds having the same worldview, but they just approach it from a different angle.
You can't seek the Lord together. Interestingly enough, I was actually just reading about this, and a marriage counselor was saying that she counsels a lot of women, Christian women, and their biggest complaint isn't that, like, oh, I wish my husband had a hot body. I wish he would, do this. I wish he was more fun. I wish he had a better personality. Is that didn't seek the Lord. It didn't seek the Lord with them. And they just said, I don't care about the want is a man who will seek the Lord with me. That's my biggest cry and my biggest desire. And as a girl in a relationship, if you're dating a non-Christian guy, you need to ask yourself, am I going to be one of those women in 10 years where my biggest complaint is that my husband is not seeking the Lord with me? When we have these conflicts and issues and we have to make a big decision, you're going to want a man who will seek the Lord with you. So trust me, it's really about.
Okay, I could see why the fifth argument, once again, could be a deal breaker. But here's the thing, though. They might have a different religion doesn't mean that they seek the Lord or a God in a different way. They could very well be seeking it in the same exact way you are. Once again, could be a different religion that this person could practice, but they could be seeking utopia in the same exact way. You really don't know how they're seeking their version of God. But the thing is, though, how do you know this person is telling you the truth? I mean, if it's a psychiatrist, there's a patient, there's a therapist and patient rule, and that is that they can't speak about what most people talk about.
Valuable, I bet. And so we challenge you to think about the type of man that you're with right now. And if he's not seeking the Lord, imagine your future. Is that the kind of man you want to spend your life with? So to answer the question that we started this vlog out with, should a Christian girl date a non-Christian guy? We hope by now that you can see clearly, based on the 5 problems that we shared, that it is not a good idea in any way, shape, or form for a Christian girl to date a non-Christian guy. And in fact, in our book, Girl Defined, which many of you have heard of, Chapter 9 is a chapter where we talk all about this in more detail, about God's design for true love and romance and what that should look like. So if you haven't read the book, we encourage you to read it. It's worth it just for that one chapter alone. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from us, you can subscribe to our channel below. We post new videos every Wednesday. Yes, like hi. The vlog should be more like. It's just when I'm not in my own Bible, it's like weird. It's like, where is everything? Okay, that verse makes it pretty clear. I think so. Words are Christian guys. God, no, not Christian guys. Okay, Christian girls. Yeah, that is. Wait, let me see that verse. Like wash with water with word. So. It's not even April. I don't know.
Okay. Now, these ladies obviously have a very small view of love and marriage. I, on the other hand, I think I have a little of love and marriage than they do. Remember in the video, the first part of their video, they read the 3rd email from one of the girls that emailed them. And she says how I love this guy and bigger than religion. That email as my primary example. Love cannot be defined somebody's religion. Love is a human emotion which we all feel. We all feel love for someone, regardless if it's family or friends. But when you find that person you want to spend the rest of your life with, that love, regardless of what the person believes or not, is so strong, it makes your heart skip. That love lasts a long time. They're gone. Look, would I meet an atheist, a non-religious person, woman, if I loved a Christian woman so much that I couldn't think about breathing without her? Yeah, of course I would. Muslim woman, if she was the right one for me, yeah. These ladies, what they do is they single out people that don't think like them. And that's sad. Sorry for them. They single out people who don't think like them. And there are people that do that. And at the end, they're never really happy. They're never really fulfilled at all. Life has its unpredictability. And that's what makes it awe-inspiring. That's what makes it awe-inspiring when people come together from different points of view, from different angles, but having the same viewpoint. How do I phrase it? Love is love. You know, remember I used the example that you can have an atheist that likes to listen to gospel music? I'm one of them, because there's a lot of humanitarian messages in gospel that you won't find in a lot of music. You'll Never Walk Alone is my favorite gospel song, because the message in there is that you're never alone, that you always have someone who's there to pick you up when you're down. And I take that as the people around me. It's my favorite gospel song, that I have people that will pick me up when I'm down. There's gospel music out there that I think people, regardless if you're a Christian or not, that maybe there's one or two songs in the gospel genre that your life and for whatever reason. But my point is that we're all different. We're all going to have different preferences. Minded preferences like this, that's sad. You are taking yourself out from what life has to offer. You might be in probably one of the most oxymoronic relationships of all time, and yet it makes you the happiest person on earth. And to those who might be watching this and saying, well, why is he saying this? Why is he responding to the video at all? Why are you letting semantics get to you? I let semantics get to me because semantics can shape how somebody views the world, or politics, or a group of people. The most tiny semantic can change somebody's worldview in a good way. And in this case, semantics have shaped these lovely ladies' view of relationships in a negative way. That's why I let semantics get to me, because semantics can really change how someone views the world. Videos on religion, and that's every now and then. But when I call out hateful ideologies like radical Islam, am I saying that Muslims that practice Islam are bad people? No. And when I call out radical versions of Christianity, am I saying that Christians are dumb people? No. I don't have a hate towards anybody. Things like Black Lives Matter or groups like that. Am I showing a hate towards a whole group of people? No. My distaste or my detest for that particular worldview or idea. I'm not showing a hatred towards any group. And if you take away anything from this video, I hope you take away the fact that in marriage doesn't have to be defined by a holy book or an atheist book. How you feel. That's what love and marriage is. It's defined how you feel. That's what love is. Love is a feeling we all feel on the inside. Love is not a feeling that we get from a book. Love is what we feel on the inside. There's a reason why the human heart and the brain make us kind of speechless when we're around the people that we love in an intimate way. There's a reason why when we meet the person that we feel in our heart that we should marry, why we feel like we can't speak to them when we first meet them, connection that we feel on a level that we can't explain. That's what love is. It's essentially a connection. If you feel a connection and you're a Christian woman and you're dating a non-Christian guy and there's this connection, by all means date the person, regardless if he's an atheist, Muslim, Jewish person, Buddhist, so on and so forth. If the connection is there, there's love. That's what a relationship is. It all boils down to a connection. And if that connection is strong and you want to marry the person, by all means, go ahead. What I'm essentially saying is that you shouldn't have to go to reliable personalities that you watch on YouTube or hear on the radio for relationship advice or advice how to run your life. Good for you. You know what relationship is good for you. You know what your preferences are. And if you find that in a person who doesn't think like you, by all means, date that person or marry that person. Responding to these two women. And for all of those who are watching this either now or later on, live your life the way you want to make yourself happy. Me, once again, an atheist that practiced Buddhism. There's a word in Tibetan that I think we're all familiar with, but if you're not, and in Jewish, shalom. English, peace. See you guys next time.